Good evening, B's, G's, NB's, Peens, Vagines, and in-betweens. This is very not planned. I mean, if anything, we should be watching Ravager, right? We're a day late for
yeah.
Phantasm 5, but
It's the final chapter.
it seems like I'm getting right back into the thrill of the internet right before I head back to the States. Oh, Dice Rollen, how are you?
I'm doing all bad. Once again, get a surprise message, go, oh.
Yeah, very impromptu weekend live. Hello, everyone.
I didn't do it.
I just want to say that the person in the thumbnail has no idea that this is happening. I don't want it. Well,
yes, he does.
Yes, I don't want it to seem like some sort of glomming on to their name for the sake of attention. It's just
who would do that?
Very good point. But I was on Twitter for one day, and maybe I just don't need to be there. But this isn't really about me so much. Yes, those of you have an idea of what this is in relation to. Dice has taken in quite a fair amount of this. I don't know. You could have watched Showa instead, which is, I think, twice. 10 hours long. That is
I had to sleep.
If you're not familiar, that is a film about the Holocaust, and it is a miserable watch. But you've taken far more in of
the subject matter.
Yeah. Well, there's a video that has labeled a good friend of ours as conservative.
Yeah, pretty distinctly, I guess, conservative, possibly homophobic, possibly harming the entirety of the horror genre somehow. I don't know how you can do that, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. Amongst others, like there are so many moments of hypocrisy in the chunk of video that I was focused on, which was discussing brilliant friend of the channel who is in the thumbnail rocking a beautiful hat.
Very vibrant colors. How progressive of you.
Who has said that only they can make that hat look good. But there are so many things that I can touch on that just are the pinnacle of hypocrisy and the irony of these things being said. The one that I really honed in on was the fact that this person made comments about our friend for attending a convention,
a public convention,
because
very
of
popular.
Yes, yeah. One of their guests was a no person.
On the list, on the shit list.
And this person too, the creator of this video, was also at that very convention.
All 3 days.
How is this person better?
Oh, well, they're standing on a moral high ground because they directly addressed it while they were there and in this subsequent video.
For 3 full days?
I don't know about that. This was my introduction to this individual. So yay.
Okay, so if you're familiar with this channel, the artistic rendering of the person in the thumbnail, extremely close friend of the channel. We're not going to reference anybody for the sake of, again, I don't want this to seem like it's...
Well, you don't want to send a torrent of negativity towards somebody else.
Right. And that was touched on in this video too, and it kind of turned me off that this person would continue to do behavior like this. So if you've seen my resurgence on Twitter, you have an idea of what we're talking about. There's a video, and it's very deceptive in its title and its thumbnail because it makes it seem like there's a subgenre within horror, and it's
Yeah.
conservative horror.
Some sort of subcategory. Let me put it this way. Like I said, I had no knowledge of this individual prior at all.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it came across my Twitter feed from somebody else. Didn't pay much attention to it, continued on. Then I see your tweet thread, and I'm like, well, who the fuck? And then I see it pop up again. Timing of it all, the gods aligned. And I went, okay, people are really talking about this. Why? I know that a much bigger creator, no offense to everybody, a much bigger creator was also mentioned, I guess in a portion I hadn't gotten to yet. And that's what a lot of people were either fully on board with or really upset with. And that was where he really dragged said creator, and I was morbidly curious. Decided I should have a look just to know what the fuck I was talking about if something like that came up. So it was almost 3.5 hours, clenched and jumped to start watching this. And lo and behold, I see a familiar face pop up. Didn't know about that.
Yeah. In the time that you've watched, to kind of separate from the big issue right here, were you convinced of the fact that there is a conservative movement in horror?
You mean aside from Nefarious? Not terribly, no.
Okay.
Not that it doesn't exist, but not really.
Yeah, it was an awful, awful lot of rolling out the red carpet, or I don't want to say gray and besmirch another friend of the channel.
No offense, Mr. Mustard. No offense. Don't shoot.
But yeah, it's an awful lot of carpet rolling for. I don't know. There are moments in that video where the person says that a friend of ours, Thumbnail Boy,
Mr. Redhead,
is one of the what was it? There was 2 types of people in the horror community.
I tried to condense so much of what point might have been trying to get across in each chapter, and I really don't know exactly how to phrase it. I would have to watch it again, to be quite honest, but essentially it was, paraphrasing, you can split a whole community into 2 parts. Amazing. One half just wants to enjoy the movie, doesn't understand why there has to be some sort of deeper meaning or even politicizing of the movie, and then the other half really wants to dig into it, appreciate it as an art form, and there is no cross-section, there is no overlap or in-between of this, which I think is hysterical for multiple reasons. But I think that was essentially the point, and I don't think it was ever distinctly mentioned where exactly our friend was placed on that.
Right. And it seemed like politics are the most important. Well, I am using my terminology figuratively, which is something that people are able to do. It's fascinating how
you can also make jokes.
Yes. It's, hyperbole. All of these things shouldn't be taken as, gospel or documentary speech. If horror is, let me backtrack. If
reverse notes, okay.
If the art that we follow is explicitly an extension of our political view, why wouldn't a movie like They Them outsell something like Halloween 2018.
Interestingly enough, this movie was mentioned. It was
Oh,
mentioned later on. The interesting thing is that being 100% transparent. Oh, we're almost there. There are some things that were said by the creator of the video that I was like, okay, you know what, I have similar views on that, but it was primarily on the movies as fictional works, and perhaps I wasn't digging deep enough into his digging. I don't know, but he had brought that up and said that. See, I hate to try to repeat things that he said, but I'll paraphrase from my interpretation of his interpretation, which was they/them, according to him, was actually putting us, meaning the LGBTQ community, in the shoes of conservatives somehow, because they were playing with kids' gloves, I believe is what he said about this. It could have gone further, done better. I'll agree with that, but there was this whole big deal about how they use conversion, and his comparison to show what a good movie involving that would be was But I'm a Cheerleader. I've not seen that film, so but apparently they/them is not the most god-awful piece of horror in recent years, but it puts us in the viewpoint of conservatives.
odd.
Very.
Um,
It's hard to grasp what the point is. It's like trying to grasp at sand.
yeah. Why does it feel like I keep trying to figure out which element of the 15 minutes I've watched, not my words, their words.
Yeah.
That was a phrase that just keeps bumping out in my head.
Yeah.
Not my words, their words. There are like so many different things where it's just like, are you serious? Why does it seem like horror? And this isn't, again, this is hyperbole, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, I don't want to attack the genre now.
Why does it seem like there's a lot of gatekeeping? And it's
I don't know. This is something that has become more and more a topic of discussion lately, I've noticed. It was bubbling like a year or so ago, but now it seems like it's in full force. And there are people who do use the phrase, but the genre's being hurt. Hi, it's survived since the silent film era, and it's still fucking going. I think we'll be alright. I think there are some bigger issues to worry about, but that's just me. And there are others who are like, well, horror is for everybody. Why are we gatekeeping? I mean, yeah, there's good, bad, and fucking everything. And sometimes the bad is a little bit louder than the good, so in that way I can understand trying to push the bad out, kind of nullify that with the good, the positive, but that's not the focus of those who are gatekeeping. What is their focus? I don't know.
Because our friend who is a critic and
a certified
critic of significance as far as if you're going to a website is concerned, and they dislike certain films.
Yeah, which I believe you're allowed to do.
Right.
I checked.
Right. They're not serious about.
No, they're very unserious. Apparently, that's amazing. I didn't know you could get such a large fan base by being so unserious. There's still hope for me.
I don't know. Like, it's art. It's subjective.
You can take it in many different ways. I think that's great.
Right. A lot of people watch Night of the Living Dead and they just see a zombie movie. There are quite a few other people that watch it and say, "Oh, this is a commentary on society," and that's great. That's incredible that you get that. But some people just wanna watch a zombie movie, and when it has layers like that, it's that much more rewarding.
Yeah,
And gen
because you might just start with, wow, it's a zombie movie. Okay, cool. It's retro. Wow.
Right.
And then if you want to, you can delve more into it, and you go, oh, wow, that's interesting. I think it's fascinating the more that I have learned about it, but you don't have
Right.
to.
When I was a kid, I watched They Live because weird blue face people and
They live.
sunglasses, and the more, like, I got older, I'm like, "Oh, wow. This is, like,
There's a
totally about
message.
consumerism." I got it. Awesome.
Uh,
And, like, experiencing movies and enjoying them for one reason, and then, like, having it a different perspective or learning more about something and enjoying it for a very different reason while still enjoying it, or vice versa, or not enjoying it for a reason. Like, that's great.
hmm.
Um, there are people that I mean, to just kinda group, um, inexplicably, the Autopsy Stream group, myself,
Hmm.
Cody, Sean, Rudy, and Brian. We all look for very different things in our movies, and very often we don't see eye to eye on everything, and
Oh my
that's
god, how are
great.
you still friends?
Right. Some of us like this comedy thing is just gonna be I don't know.
Good
You
luck.
know, like, if you're interested in technical aspects of films, Brian is probably the most strict on things. Um, I don't wanna say that I'm second strictest, but, things move around, and, like, Brian's idea of comedy is something I just do not understand. And,
Ah,
like,
he's British.
yeah,
All
like,
right.
uh, the the scale, it moves over the course of just this little private group of 5 people, half of which are, certified. Uh you should watch somebody enough to get an idea of, okay, I agree with what they're saying. And, you gamble based on the critic or the film reviewer that you kind of align with. To say that somebody isn't serious isn't treating the situation seriously.
No, God forbid. Apparently, that's what we're supposed to be doing when we're watching movies. Is not just enjoying them at any point. We're supposed to be really like dissecting them. Apparently, that I wasn't alerted to that fact.
Yeah, what's the most successful I that was brought up too, money. But the most successful restaurant is probably McDonald's.
Sure.
Fast, quick, uh, noteworthy. Y
Does it provide immense nutritional value?
Right, but,
But we'll still eat there.
it serves a purpose, and people go there before they would get a steak,
Sure.
even though they know a steak would be much more an enjoyable experience or fulfilling.
I mean,
Um,
there are people. We're using food analogies. Oh god. Uh, there are people who love fucking McNuggets, and I can see that, but also be like, make you happy? Okay.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are times where I feel like a bit of a gatekeeper, and then I hear other people say things like, "This person isn't serious," and I'm like, "Is that what I sound like?" That's awful.
No, I think by comparison, you're a toll bridge.
Yeah. Um, there was discussion about the way this person spoke. Um,
Are we giving alerts from Mothership?
yeah, yeah, you know what?
I didn't do it.
No, we're gonna have a very, interesting guest
What, more
is
interesting me than me? How's that possible? How dare you?
Yeah, so I just didn't didn't want to discuss the person's name again. I didn't want it. Sean, €2 super chat. Thank you. I'm late. How is? Well, all right. Just sit tight. We'll get to how Cody will make us great. But I don't want this to be like, hitching to anybody's wagon. But somebody can certainly speak on their own behalf much more than either of us can. And I think you've seen far more of this video than anybody.
It's possible. And there are certain things I saw and I was like, am I wasting my time? Probably.
Yeah.
But I'm going to just take some notes.
Yeah.
Take some notes.
Somebody has checked in, somebody who's very important to this discussion. And
you may know him.
Yeah.
We don't know, right?
Yeah. And so there was, it's weird. I've been accused of, I was accused of one thing a couple of weeks ago, and I think I know who the person is, but whatever. Somebody said that I'm jealous of this person. I'm like,
the irony.
Jealous.
Says the commenter.
Yeah. Projection much? If there's ever a human being that like I'm rooting for multiple reasons, it's Cody. When it comes to like everything that I've done as far as creativity is concerned, I've had jealous moments. I've been eager without a proper education or motivation. And over the course of time, like those things have switched. I've been less, not jealous at all, but not as eager. It just seems like the competitive nature wasn't there. When I first started doing stand-up, I didn't want to be friends with anybody because I thought we were all competition. And over the course of time, I'm like, why am I doing this? And in the last 10 years or so, I've decided to, if somebody needs advice or help or something, I don't care.
That means you weren't gatekeeping. You learned, you evolved.
Right. And the same thing can be said for YouTube. And, the first couple of months, years, whatever, I was kind of standoffish and like, no. But especially in regards to Cody, the guy deserves it. Like I've seen it firsthand. The guy manages to raise a family. The things he did before he was full-time, I don't know very many people that would put up with that and still have time to like create content. He was doing that for a very long time. He does that. He switched over
some of that energy, please. Thank you.
I know. Managed to do that. Switched over. Is a great family man. Does everything, but he says words that not everybody likes. And I'll take that.
He doesn't filter himself completely. Oh, the drama.
Yeah. And if I'm ever rooting for somebody as a human being, it's him. And if I'm ever rooting for somebody as far as the business person is concerned, it's him, because at some point he might need my help. He might need an editor, and
sugar daddy money.
I have an idea that I could at least be on an inside track to compete for that job. So jealous of him? No. If anything, I want to veer away from doing my own shit and edit somebody else's content. But like that's absurd. And I basically just re-said what I said on Twitter here, but I like it when somebody, not in a jealous, in the beginning it was jealous. All right, speak of the devil.
Stayed enough.
What?
Hat red stayed enough.
It's a trucker hat. It works.
Like straw or anything to chew on. Or...
No. You need not a Bud Light, maybe a Coors.
Oh yeah, definitely not Bud Light.
And too woke.
So, just oddly speaking, hi Cody.
What are you doing here?
How are you?
Looks fucked up, so I'm gonna put the redneck hat back on.
Well, just don't refer to any people as objects, please, because that's the last thing we need.
How dare you?
I only said that in my youth. What's up?
All right. So you're here.
Yeah.
You're far more affected by this than either of us. And again, I didn't want this to seem like it was some sort of coattail grab, but it's fascinating what happened.
Not coattail grabbing to defend your friend, you fucker.
Well, I
Being
didn't
modest.
want. Well, it's just okay, sure, whatever. But
I wasn't coattail dragging when I defended you with my little Justice for CP video 5 years ago.
Oh man. Okay.
Was it 5 years ago? Feels like
Is it that long ago?
I don't know.
It is really long ago.
I literally forgot about it. I know where I was involved. That's it.
So you're here. So I whatever you want to say. Obviously, if you want to name the person, that's your call.
I don't know the guy's fucking name. I don't want to know it, to be honest with you. I never heard of this dude until 24 hours ago. Luckily, like you said, this affects me. It doesn't seem like it's really going to affect me because whoever this much larger creator that they fucked with, like that fan base is just like taking over the whole conversation. Like I saw this. I don't really think my name's getting brought up hardly at all. So that's good. But it's still just the whole thing just was ridiculous to me. Like somebody left a comment on, I had announced that I was going to a convention in Arizona, and somebody left a comment. They were like, hope you don't run into this YouTuber. He'll make another hit piece video on you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then they gave me a quick little brief, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And so I'm assuming it's like, oh, Charlie with 12 subscribers. And I look and I'm like, 400K.
I have 8,000, not 12.
Yeah.
And I asked you not to call me Charlie.
Yeah,
call me Charlie.
But you know what I mean? Anytime I hear something like that, it's always like fucking some channel it's whatever. It's not even worth acknowledging. And then I saw 400K and I was like, oh fuck, is this going to be really bad? And so I clicked on, and much like Charles, I could only get through the first 20 minutes. Once I was killed off, I felt like the show just died. But anyway, yeah. So I listened to it and I was just like, it's always funny to me when like they totally put all their cards on the table, and people like this where it's like Cody didn't like The Lighthouse or he didn't like Midsummer. So here's the reason why I'm going to bitch about everything else he does in life. And it's like, wow, it's always something like that. It's always some fucking movie that God forbid I didn't like. And it's like, okay, now we disagree on this. Obviously he's a piece of shit. So let's just let's dissect every word that he says out of context and put it through some weird fucking sieve so I could spin it this way. And so, yeah, I just listened on and I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. And it's like, oh, and he like managed to throw in there like, he seemed to have a real issue with the homoerotic thing in The Lighthouse because he said that the movie's weird for weird sake. And I'm like, or it's just fucking weird. It has nothing to do with anything else. Like fucking Willem Dafoe's farting through 3/4 of the movie. He beats the shit out of a pigeon. The fucking light kills him. Like it's all this weird stuff that just doesn't resonate with me. It has nothing to do with if there's undertones, the overtones or anything else. Yeah. So there's that. And, you know, then the clip where my eyes just rolled in the back of my fucking skull was just like, oh, and then this like random section out of the video where I'm just like, oh yeah, Shannon Elizabeth's gonna be there. She was the object of my desire in my youth. I would never refer to females as objects, so he should probably speak differently. And I'm like, you fucking pretentious bitch, just fucking whatever. It's so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and like that's kind of what I was referencing before, you know, hyperbole, figuratively speaking. When you were at that convention, did you try to make Shannon Elizabeth your property?
I didn't even stop by her table because she was busy at one point, and then whenever she actually had a chance, I was going to go and try to get her autograph and meet her really quick, but I had heard that Kiefer Sutherland's line was massive, and I literally went to this convention just to meet Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patrick, the stars of the Lost Boys, which anybody that watches me knows is.
Speaking of homoeroticism,
I'm telling you, yeah, really, like what the fuck's up with that movie? I should reevaluate things.
There's so much leather.
Saxophone guy.
Yes.
But you know, the Lost Boys and The Thing are my two favorite horror films of all time. So I literally drove just for them. It was awesome to meet other people there, but for all intents and purposes, I could have just met them and fucking left. That was my only concern. And so I went there. I had a really good time. It was a little bit smaller con. It was my first horror con ever. That's also very important and information that was completely left out of this. So me having a good time because it's my first time makes sense, unless it was just a shit convention, which it absolutely was not. And everybody else that I met was great. Felissa Rose, Michael Rosenbaum. And so I met probably 15, 20 different people that were just fans of the channel, which was really cool and interesting, because it's very different when I go to MegaCon. Sean's kind of the star because that's his crowd more than mine. And so this was kind of like my time to shine. I was like, oh, wow, this is really weird.
All to myself.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just a really good time. I met a lot of really good people. There was nothing to bitch about. And so when I did the video, it was just kind of like sharing my experience and sharing stories about the autographs and just like enjoying fucking life. And then I just made a little, you had to acknowledge it somewhere. So it was like, yeah, I think I said something about how segregated Kiefer Sutherland was from everybody because he had such a massive crowd. And then I had said right after that, Kevin Spacey was also segregated from everybody, but for completely different reasons. And that was all
it was a joke. It was a funny line. Yeah.
And it's funny. Yeah, exactly. Do I really need to be the 10 millionth person to say, oh my God, Kevin Spacey? And it's just, I didn't talk to Kevin Spacey. I didn't go upstairs to his table. I didn't get an autograph from him. So why would I bring him up aside from the little bit that I did?
But how many times did you break the law with Kevin Spacey while you were there?
Look, man, I'm trying to defend myself here and I'm digging myself deeper.
Which, I mean, I had to look into it. Kevin Spacey has not been charged. He was in court last year and the charges were dismissed. So technically, not to get into this bullshit, but if courts aren't convicting him, how long should society?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other conversation too that we can get into. I mean, everybody that already thinks that Kevin Spacey's guilty as sin is going to tell you that he paid them off or it's been too long or whatever. And maybe I wasn't fucking there, but I'm with you. Like, you know, we had the Me Too movement. We had all this social consciousness drive up, which is important. At the same time, there's absolutely been a lot of things where we've overreacted and now just accusations can condemn you for the rest of your life. Did he do something? Did he not? Nobody knows but Kevin and the person that accused them. But the people that have all the evidence said that he wasn't. It's worth bringing up. I mean, I don't even know if that was the case when I went there, but I mean, they advertised Kevin going there. It caused a lot of controversy. I had already bought my tickets. I was going to see the two people from the Lost Boys, among some others. I wasn't going to fucking just eat money out of social justice if I wasn't going to go to his fucking table anyway. And so I didn't. I went there. I did what I was going to do, spent the whole day there, had a great time, went home, made a video. Nobody died. It is what it is. You know, I don't know I don't know what his crowd looked like. Like I said, a totally separate floor to himself. I was always on the ground floor. So I don't know if he had a ton of people. I don't know if nobody went to see him. I really don't know. But I don't know what it seems to be that like the whole thing was brought up like because I had a good time and I said I had a good time and I documented that I had a good time, but I didn't take the time to make a video to be the 10 millionth person condemning Kevin Spacey. I'm a problem. And it's like, well, why, what would that add?
Yeah, there are a bunch of things that even in just the little section about you that like really bother me. He talked about you and said, I'm sure he's a great guy and all. And like,
yeah, that's where the pussy cop out stuff got into it, where I really started to get mad. Like you see that shit on TikTok a lot, where it's like, I have 3 million subscribers and I'm going to make this whole minute hit piece on somebody. But at the end of it, I'm going to say, but don't go do anything to them, knowing full well that's exactly what you want your audience to do. Which luckily has not worked because I haven't had a single person come over to my channel, at least yet, and be like, oh, you're that guy. But yeah, that's just such a pussy cop-out thing. Like literally spending like 10 minutes just like assassinating my character with massive assumptions without ever having a conversation, which you could have very easily fucking had with me at Mad Monster, by the way.
And they said that too. They said that. Like they said that you walk by their car or something. It's like amend that. Why would you say something after the fact?
That was the funny thing where I was just like, okay, like I would entertain your viewpoint if you weren't also at the same fucking convention. You weren't out there to picket. So
right.
What the fuck? But yeah, whenever you go on this whole rant about like, this and that, he's a small, I think he said, I'm a small piece of a larger problem in the community. And of course there was the suggestions about being homophobic with the lighthouse and then sexist for liking Shannon Elizabeth when I was fucking 9 years old and everything else. And then he ended up, but I'm sure he seems like a decent guy and I don't want anybody to go over there. I don't want to, it's like, well, then what the fuck are you doing? Commit at least. If you're going to be an asshole, at least commit to being an asshole. That's
be
what
a
I do.
whole asshole, goddammit.
Yeah.
Dice, he referenced, or they referenced something that happened in a video prior where
there's some now. To be fair, I have no idea about the situation aside from his brief mentioning of it, and maybe I am thinking incorrectly, but I think it's someone you both know and I know of. A much bigger name that you have worked with on a specific themed project on multiple occasions. But
put it in the private chat because I'm okay. At a loss. Okay.
If I'm thinking correctly, anyway, It could be someone completely different by the same name.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't look too far into it. I was distracted. But there was, I think, shock and surprise. It was to do with this creator's thoughts on the Halloween franchise being contradictory to this person. And there was some issue there that started a controversy, and the creator's audience went to this other creator's space. And I don't know when that happened, but apparently that was a problem. That was one controversy in this individual's history that he mentioned. And he didn't want a repeat of that.
So just keep doing the same shit, except saying, guys, don't do this.
Well, I've gathered from the comments and from the 200 plus quote tweets that there's a section of the video where he kind of goes, "Woe is me," and he's like, "I did this video and everybody attacked me for it and assumed all these things about me and assigned all these words to me, and so poor me." And it's like, you just did the same fucking thing to me, you idiot! Like for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have 3 more hours of shit to go that I haven't even fucking entertained.
This is
so how many other people
2.
are you doing this to in the same video? And you want sympathy? Eat a dick.
Here's what's real funny. If I am getting this correctly, which I do believe I am, when he mentions this bigger creator, that is one controversy. The one where he has a section going over like hate comments and shit that he's received and the reason behind all of that, separate controversy. So I see
where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
Shit's burnt. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
I aesthetically speaking, I got very James Somerton vibes from this creator. Only because of I don't know, mood lighting and
trying to make it look very cinematic, green screen, different backdrops.
Yeah,
it could have been 360p considering the way that video was presented, but
I hope you like looking at a smaller screen within your screen for a while, people.
Very, very artistic. Cody, the idiot that he is, wouldn't understand. True.
You're very unserious. You need to start getting serious, man.
Pretentious editing.
Do they tie in the fact that the label of conservative is linked to whatever's being talked about in that video?
Now that is such an open-ended thing. I got no answer for you.
I couldn't even completely discern whether he was labeling me conservative or he was labeling me as just equal of a problem because I'm more central. Like there was a whole thing. It was just confusing. Like even the spot on me, I'm like, even I'm fucking confused about like what I should be offended by here. Like I don't even know what you're saying.
Me?
And it's just like, I don't know, man. Like my whole thing is like, look, you don't have to like my views. everybody on fucking YouTube, Rotten Tomatoes, anywhere else, like we all have our own different tastes. All of you watching have your own different tastes. Like the people that understand that we all have our own viewpoints, our own pasts, our own attachment to certain art and deference to other art. You find YouTubers, critics, pundits, whoever, that you at least can get a grasp on where they come from enough to where even if I give a negative review, you should be able to discern from that negative review, oh, I'll like that because he doesn't like these things and I actually do. Like that's when you're doing it right. So if you don't like that, I don't like these movies, whatever. First of all, who the fuck cares? But then to spin off into all these other things, like it's such weird and pathetic behavior for me to know and keep receipts on so much about somebody that you clearly don't like. Like having all these Twitter screenshots and like editing like the fuck out of my Mad Monster video and having clips from reviews from fucking 4 years ago and everything. It's like you put more time into documenting some version of me than even I put into one video. So I don't like, it's just weird.
I guess you know
to
who
know
will be
so
writing
much
your autobiography.
to know so much and to like store all this and like have a fucking encyclopedic knowledge of like who Cody is if you're not even a fan. Like I know a lot about what CP likes and what Sean likes, and like anybody that I watch or anybody that I'm a fan of or anybody that I'm a friend of, I can get an idea to where like I remember them saying certain things and I can have a little storage space up here. There's not one single fucking person that I don't care for on the internet that I'm storing any info on them for. And behavior like that is just weird. It's just fucking weird.
Would you classify it as being a toddler?
Yeah.
It is weird because ironically so, they present these things out of context while gathering all of this information on you. It's just, and I got the
and
impression,
it's just like, have you been storing these things for like 5 years, waiting for when the video is going to come, or did you just say like I'm going to dedicate this weekend to sifting through Cody's shit over the last 5 years and trying to figure out what videos I can take little clips from? Like just that in and of itself gives me a headache where I'm just like, why spend your time on this?
Yeah.
What are you trying to gain? Like that's where I get confused. Like you're allowed to not like me. I'm allowed to not like you. Who gives a fuck? As long as we're not hurting each other, people can say whatever they want. They can think whatever they want. But just the amount of time that some people put into people they don't like, especially on like Twitter and everything, it just blows my mind. It's like, how much shit could you have actually accomplished in the time that you spent fucking obsessing about me?
Yeah. And the implication was made that politics is in everything.
For people like that, it is. It's in like your every fucking meal you eat. It's like, did you know that a conservative put the fucking sour cream on your taco? How do you feel about that?
Oh, you're going to eat those pickles? Do you know what company made those pickles?
Yeah.
We have a friend who seems to introduce politics into things, but like it's frustrating that this team sports type thing is in art. And like these are things that normal people do to escape the everyday bullshit of politics, is to watch a silly movie about people being scared. And
teens being slaughtered.
Yeah.
Why not? It's relaxing.
Wouldn't you rather somebody watching that than doing that? I just don't understand this. Like, who the hell agrees on everything? And who the hell wants to live in that world where everybody agrees that this is the way to do things? We're all different. Like, it's impossible to all agree on something. And if we all did, it'd be kind of creepy. Like, a lot.
Yes. I think there are some horror movies that have been made about that, actually.
Right, exactly. And they're warnings. But it's like I said before, you can enjoy something on surface level shit. And, some movies have politics to them, all do whatever. But the better ones can be enjoyed just for the surface level stuff. And you don't necessarily need to bring politics into it.
I always like to look at it as really good horror films, or even some bad ones, to be quite honest, can be made in such a way of like, here's some social commentary if you want it. If you don't, here's a stupid fucking possession movie. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there's plenty of stuff that I do like that dives into social stuff or whatever. It's just it's the two examples you give. It's like, yeah, that was a bad year. Okay, there's plenty of fucking examples of movies like that I do like. Midsummer was boring as fuck. Lighthouse was way too weird for me. Shoot me.
They might. Careful now.
Yeah.
If this person's a member of the horror community, how do they feel about the Jeepers Creepers movies?
Mm.
Because that would be a little
sus. To some.
Right. It's not just support this person because they have the same views as me. There are so many things that are conflicting, like the whole complaining about Kevin Spacey, yet attending that thing for 3 days while not making a fuss, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Or waiting until now, fucking May 23rd or whatever, when the video went up. That convention was in February, beginning of March.
That's some top secret activism right there.
Yeah. And the other part of it too is like, suggesting that there's some kind of issue that I have or some kind of like deference to the LGBTQ community because of Lighthouse. And then he uses a tweet where he's like, here he is on Twitter going at somebody for going at the LGBTQ community. And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking bipolar, apparently. One personality doing videos, one personality on Twitter.
You're bi too high.
I'm telling yeah. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. Like I said, even the little 10-minute segment of me, 15, whatever it was so just scattershot. It was just like, I'm going to bitch about this guy and find weird reasons to, but they're not going to like go to a coherent point at any period.
This is a theme.
Yeah. That's what I've gathered. I mean, I couldn't stomach past that, but that's what I've gathered in the comments, where it's just like, apparently it's not a very good, video essay. If we will.
Well, he had to walk there in the cold, and he was concerned about the people who couldn't walk there on their own. Oh, by the way, is that Cody Leach? Anyway,
I think I know the answer to this, but just for the sake of getting it out there, have you been contacted by this person to,
No, from what I've heard, they're deleting all of the comments that they don't like, or that one of those. The only thing that I almost debated not even interacting with it at all, but sometimes I just feel like you got to put your foot down and just say your piece. And so all I really did was quote tweet the video and put my thoughts out there. I didn't comment on the video. I didn't share it on YouTube or anything like that. But no, I don't imagine he's going to, for as much as I might be such a great guy, if he's not going to walk up to me when I'm in person, in a totally normal context, I don't think he's going to engage with me at all after he's already kind of pissed me off. So
it's just like slimy. It's really weird, slimy behavior.
Yeah.
And I was going to say gatekeeping about movies, but also kind of gatekeeping about politics too. Like somebody kind of referenced it earlier, like, you don't agree with me, you're a piece of shit. I'm better than you in every sense of the word, whether it be politics, movies, whatever. Ugh, you're not serious about what you do.
And that's a common trend that I see with people that make politics their entire fucking personality.
Yeah.
Like, we have to bring it up everywhere, whether we're at a restaurant, we're at a library, we're hanging out in a park, we're watching a movie, or whatever. There's a political edge to what's going on, and we have to discuss it. And if we disagree, fuck you. You should burn. And it's like, you're an exhausting person to even put in my head for 5 seconds.
You drain me.
I don't envy your life whatsoever, because you must be miserable from fucking sun up to sundown.
Yeah, the issue with all of this heavy hyper politics bullshit is, by talking to someone or being somewhere, it's like this endorsement of that thing, and that's absurd, because between the three of us that are here right now, we don't agree on everything. That's fine. It's very strange that this like very tunnel vision-esque mentality, you have to agree with my political stance on everything, or otherwise you're a subhuman, which ironically is not very leftist.
Progressive.
Beyond that, like, if we're going to talk about the entertainment industry in any way, whether it's a movie production, a convention, anything like that, like, you're not going to find anything that doesn't have some tie to somebody that you should have an issue with. Like, yes. I mean, for fuck's sake, you can go back to MegaCon, and there was people that were bitching that Eli Roth was there because of some comments he made about the Israel-Palestine thing going on. It's like, do you boycott MegaCon now because Eli Roth is somewhere in the fucking building? And then if you go beyond that, I mean, any movie that you look at, there's some cinematographer or some dude who brought fucking cupcakes to the set or something that said something you didn't like, and it's where do you draw the line?
Exactly. Where does it stop? Oh, you live in the country where that person who said that horrible thing is. Why haven't you done something about it and left the country where that horrible person lives?
Yeah,
that's trying.
Yeah. Like if I was like, you know, taking selfies with Kevin Spacey and shit like that, okay, then I kind of asked for it. Just being in the same fucking county as him, get off my ass. I was there to see the Lost Boys people.
Yeah, and plus, you made content out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You pay taxes as a private business,
mm-hmm.
You know, employed by yourself. That's a business expense. It was an investment for work that you do.
Yeah.
So are you going to go out of your way to not make money because a person is at a place that you're going to be at that you have no intention on sharing a room with? Like that's silly.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think it's silly. I didn't realize it was.
I would agree.
What else happened in the
other 3 hours?
Yeah.
Not much. There's now I could be getting this wrong, but again, it's, you know, you're in for some shit. First of all, when you see the duration of the video, but when it's separated in chapters. So, I guess you took up a good portion of chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then chapter 2 was his woe is me party. Where, I'm sorry, as a very small creator, I had to laugh almost hysterically when he was talking about how much his views have tanked since his, someone mentioned it in the chat, but since his controversy that he made on his own about a movie that he covered some time ago, how the fucking views tanked a good bit from that. Now he's only getting like, what, 30,000 views. He only makes about $500 a month, not including Patreon, and I'm here going, every other month I might be able to get 100.
Every other month.
Yeah. I think I have some notes. But that was a full fucking chapter of him reading comments, which, by the way, if you're going to try to laugh off the pain that you receive by reading these comments out loud, try harder to sound natural with your laugh. Thank you. And after that, it went into, I believe, talking more about movies. It's quite a concept given the title. So we brought up a few different movies. He talked about They, Them, briefly did a comparison of that to But I'm a Cheerleader. He mentioned They Live at one point a bit, and the original Night of the Living Dead, and a few others. I kind of zoned out for a minute because I was like, I'm retaining none of this. Thank you. It sounded very copy-paste to me as far as opinions go, but there was one thing. There was one thing that he mentioned, forgive me, backtrack to chapter 2, where he, how did he phrase that? I had directly quoted it, because I found it so fucking astonishing.
God bless you, Dice.
I try. Hey, let's specific here. We got to get this right. That's a very important thing. We got to be serious, right? Okay.
Cliff notes and Dice notes. It's like, all right, what happened? I ain't watching this shit.
Yeah, I have a flight to kill. I'm like, nah, I'm not wasting my time.
That's
nowhere
too much.
To be.
Well, that ought to put you to sleep for a bit. But at one point, he had quoted, or I had quoted him saying, I am not saying my opinions in regards to the movie that caused him one controversy. I'm not saying my opinions. I am telling you factual information about what happens in these movies. they were his opinions on what he was perceiving and reading into this movie. But apparently that's exactly what the director meant to say in this movie, which is amazing. I didn't know you could speak for a director who is dead. That's fantastic. It's an amazing skill. But
Yeah,
I was laughing
bold.
at that. I had to quote it. I had to quote it.
So
I don't know what happened.
Seems like
really
the type
after
of
that.
guy where all of his opinions are facts in his head.
I'm sure they are.
yeah,
I don't know the man, but this is my assumption, and it's 100% correct.
Yeah,
Right.
clearly this is what they were intending.
I was getting vibes from him, man.
It is strange that, I mean, not to tie the two together at all. I just, it's some sort of thing linked the two. The James Somerton video where they discussed Alien, or excuse me, or they quoted somebody who discussed queer horror in Alien. When I was in film school, it was about SA, and we didn't discuss much of the queer aspect of Alien. It's a different perspective, and to hear it is unique. But to say that this is absolutely what it is, you can't tell somebody when it's art how they're. I mean, you could say what your intent is, but how somebody perceives it is different. It's just the way it is. That's what makes. At least I thought that's what makes all of this so incredible, is how people are affected differently by things. And Cody's just wrong. That's
Often.
TLDR. Cody's wrong. What the fuck?
I love and I see it. I can't tell you how often I see this from bigger creators of all different genders, sexual preferences. Who knows what their political views are? What a concept. But I see so many and so frequently comments that are left by our favorites, no avatar, some random numbers in name and all that shit, saying you're wrong about this movie because this. No, that's not how that works. Let me bring up the Webster's Dictionary and tell you what an opinion is.
Yeah. It's art. It's subjective. All of it is subjective. I mean, you can speak about like technical aspects of something, but I mean, there's paintings in the museum where I'm like, that looked like it took 2 seconds to make. Just fucking mark.
You threw something at the wall.
Yeah. But
it
then
means
somebody
pain,
else,
I'm sure.
Right. Somebody else is like, oh, this means frustration with the system. Like, does it? I could do that. That's easy. And Cody, you have this comparison too, quite a bit about I can taste a burger. I don't have to appreciate. I don't have to be. Help me out with the figure of speech that you use quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. No, so yeah, you have like it's my defense when you have people that come at you like, well, unless you've made a movie, you should shut up.
Right.
And I always say like, well, I can bite into a cheeseburger and tell you whether it's good or not. I don't have to know how to fucking make one.
Right.
And so that's always kind of my little analogy there, because you usually get that defense at some point, like, this person's made movies, you have not, so you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, as a consumer, as a viewer, my opinion is very valid because they're making it for us.
Yeah.
I don't have to know how to operate a fucking boom to tell you that the shit was out of focus or whatever the hell was the problem. You know what I mean?
It sounds like shit.
Yeah.
Well, here's a nice little here's a nice little example. So you can't know if a movie is good or not unless you've made one. Hi, Tommy Wiseau, line 1.
Yeah. I don't know. So, how you doing, Cody? So we never got to this. I'm sorry.
How's your days been?
I've been landscaping since Monday, so that's all I'll say.
Tired. Sounds like tired is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Manual labor.
Yeah.
All right. If you want to stick around and talk about something else, I can open up the chat if you'd like.
Sure. I don't have anywhere to go.
May I throw one last thing out there?
Please.
It's a little theory. I'm sorry. It's a little theory. It's an opinion, if you will. But do you think...
It better be the right one.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Oh. Well, in that case, let me vet it real quick. Do you think that the reason why this creator made this video and pointed a finger at you specifically at the beginning is because, under his own admission, he still gets comments on that video that was, I assume, one of his most recent controversies? Was that a way to try to distract, to try to redirect, and make himself look better?
I don't know. I don't try to understand people like that. I mean, I got to think. I mean, you look at his channel, it's just weird fucking numbers from top to bottom. I mean, you look at his subscriber count versus the number of videos, and it seems like most of those subscribers came from just a couple of them. And so that kind of feeds into what I guess apparently he was bitching about views dipping. And so it was never like this consistent channel. It was just like pops of virality or whatever the hell happened. So, I mean, you could very easily argue that you make a video like this and name a bunch of YouTubers that have notable audiences to get controversy going, to get views going. I mean, that could be it. It's still pathetic if that's the reason, but I don't know. Like I said, the whatever YouTuber is discussed later on in the video has taken over the whole conversation, which I'm cool with. But
Take the heat, man.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. I don't know if that was the intention. I don't know if this guy just likes to be an asshole and just wants to pick fights with people. I mean, who knows? There could be 1,000 different reasons, but
just a thought that
I'm interested on following that up though when you brought that up, because I've never heard anything about that. I feel like I should have. So
first time hearing of them. So
I think it's the first time all of us are hearing about them. Does it? For as much as this person doesn't know you, but has tons of files and shit on you, they would know that you're quite supportive in the community. You do a lot of stuff with smaller channels, present company included. Excuse me. Does it make you guarded at all towards doing stuff like that in the future? Because there's these
dipshits.
Yeah, snakes in the grass for a lack of a...
No. I mean, that was literally what my response to them on Twitter was. I'll bring it up so I don't paraphrase myself, because that could get hairy.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah, exactly. His words, not mine. But yes. And I like how every time he said that, it was like a paraphrase of what I said. It's like, that's not how that works. But
his words, sort of, not mine.
Yeah, so when I quote tweeted his video, which was the only thing that I was going to do to actually publicly acknowledge it, I said, interesting that you said there's two camps in horror fandom. I agree. One camp builds up others in the community, helps anyone they can, and tries to bring joy and entertainment to people's lives. The other makes videos like this. And I said, if you ever met me or stopped me at Mad Monster to have a single conversation, you'd feel ridiculous for everything you conveyed about me here. But seeing this, I'm not ever interested in having that conversation. So that was the only bit of acknowledgement that I gave it, aside from responding to other comments asking what this was about. Because they're like, why are you so upset about this video about conservative horror movies? And it's like, oh, that's not what the video is about.
Let me give you a timestamp.
Remember my whole thing about what clickbait actually is? Well,
yeah. All right. So I'm getting an idea. So that I had this blanket statement clickbait for things that I just thought were inducing clicks, and I'm learning more and more that there's a difference between the terminology I was using.
For me, clickbait is I'm advertising one thing, and when you click on the video, it's something else, because I knew you'd probably click on this. It's a very different thing versus you made an enticing thumbnail that makes me want to click.
Enticing is the word I want to use.
Yes. So if you have a thumbnail that has Jason Blum, Ben Shapiro, this other YouTuber, Kevin Spacey, and yourself, and it says bad conservative horror movies, to me that feels like this is going to be a video essay or a ranking of bad conservative horror movies.
I agree.
And you click on it and it's like, oh, by the way, Cody Leach is an asshole. And I also got a bunch of heat for this video. And now we're going to move on to they, them. And now we're going to move on to this other YouTuber. And like, I don't know if any point in this video we actually stop to pause and like consider what is a conservative horror movie and list the worst ones.
Yeah. I just, what is, because you're sort of centrist. I think Jacob said it earlier, because you're not exactly one thing or another. You're a useful idiot for the right. And it's just like, dude, just because people don't agree with you doesn't like.
And my whole thing with being like the centralist or whatever the fucking term is, I just don't like talking politics publicly, because it doesn't matter what you say or who you say it to, you're going to be wrong somewhere. And I'm not here to talk politics. I'm here to talk movies and everything else. So why get into it unless the movie's political? And even then you got to kind of walk on eggshells. But beyond that, I've said it numerous times. I don't subscribe to this belief that you've got to be team A or team B. I have beliefs that could be considered conservative. I have beliefs that would be considered liberal. I have beliefs that don't seem to be something either one would really go for. To me, if you're the type of person where it's like, I'm team blue, no matter what team blue says and does, I'm there, you're a fucking puppet. Same with the right.
Yeah.
If you're extreme either way, I don't understand how you function in the world, because it's like saying, I agree with your argument before you even state it.
Yeah.
That's fucking dumb. And so, and there's plenty of times where, you could lean one way and that camp starts to do some weird shit. And it's like, whoa, I don't know. And so now there's this whole spectrum. It's like, there's the extreme this way, the extreme this way, the moderate this way, the people in the middle. And it's just, there's people out there. It's like, if you're not hard on this side, you're the enemy, because we're always right 100% of the way down the line over here. And if you even take one step this way, you're the enemy.
It reminds me of an anecdote, and not one for one, mind you, an anecdote Emily talked about when she joined some like Facebook group for lesbians, and they would meet up at a bar, and she was like, I have nothing in common with these people other than I'd like to have sex with other women. There's nothing else we have in common. And they would talk about things. And Emily's like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. This club sucks.
Here's your jacket back.
Just unsubscribe. Thank you. I got it, Daniel. Sorry. $5 super chat. Thank you. Good evening. Hope everyone's having a good one so far. Have you seen the official trailer for Longlegs starring Nick Cage? If so, thoughts?
I like thoughts.
I'm avoiding the trailers to it. That seems like a movie I want to walk into blind. So I don't know anything about it other than they've been really coy with how weird the trailer or the posters have been. I've kind of taken that approach with predominantly horror, but movies in general. If I'm sold for whatever reason, whether it's the actor or the buzz or the premise, I don't really need to see anymore. Jason Blum, if we're going to put him on a thumbnail, let's talk about how he's like ruined movie marketing. So,
dude, he
everything
admitted that he just does a condensed version of the movie in his fucking trailers. It's like,
yeah,
what?
he's going off the analytics that newer generations like to see the whole thing, and he might be right. I still don't like it. Sometimes being right is not being right.
I agree with you. Actually, this is the first time we've actually been able to discuss this in front of a camera. You think Abigail, spoilers for subject matter of Abigail, if you haven't seen the trailer, you think you have to give away an aspect of the girl?
It's not that you have to. It's just like, I feel like if you have a movie where there's a major reveal or twist or something, a genre change within the first 2 acts, your movie needs to function whether the audience knows that or not, because inevitably it's going to be in the marketing. Like, I feel like From Dusk Till Dawn still functions extremely well if you know that vampires are coming. Is it cool to experience that movie with somebody that doesn't? Yes, because I've watched it with my wife, and when the fucking first vampire comes out, she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I don't know how the fuck you market Abigail without that. The movie's called Abigail. She's on the poster. The vampire teeth in the top, the font. She's got blood splattered all over her tutu. you could market it very carefully as a heist movie where something goes wrong, I guess, but I don't know how many people are going to go see that movie. And I don't know if the word of mouth afterwards of like, oh, some shit happens about 30 minutes in would really help that movie. I mean, you think to an example like Barbarian, which to me is the movie that had the best marketing of the most recent years. You could still market the shit out of the first 20 minutes of that movie and really get people in, because the concept of a fucked up Airbnb, what's going to happen? That's enticing, and that gets people in because it's a simple concept. You don't have to talk about anything else after that first 20 minutes with Pennywise. Can't remember the dude's name for
Bill
a second.
Skarsgård.
Thank you. Bill Skarsgård. And so they were able to take a chance on that trailer, and it paid off. Abigail, I don't think that would work. And for me, I saw the movie knowing full well it was vampires. They didn't hide it in the marketing. They didn't hide it in the poster. They didn't hide it in radio silence talking about the movie before it even started. I mean, fuck, I asked them a question on the red carpet. What's your favorite vampire films? How did it influence Abigail? And so it was obvious. And to me, the movie functions great because you still, the argument that I've heard that is the most compelling is that the first 30 minutes of the movie don't really work because they treat the reveal of Abigail as a mystery, and we already know the answer to the mystery, so it just kind of feels like wasted time. And I feel sorry for anybody that had that experience. But for me, I still think the movie functions very well because it's not so much that it's a mystery, like they're trying to keep a secret that we already know the secret. To me, we know Abigail is the reveal. We know she's a vampire. We know she's the one taking all these people out. So it's just entertaining to watch the 30 minutes of the hysteria of them pointing at like, it's got to be Valdez. It's got to be this. It's one of you. And all the while we know it's not. And so it's just watching the hysteria and the comedy that comes out of that until finally she fucking shows her teeth. And it's like, oh, fuck, she's Valdez.
But as far as marketing it is concerned, what if, and this is kind of tying into your From Dusk Till Dawn reference, what if the trailer or maybe just a teaser, they have that discussion where they say, do you know whose daughter she is? And like cut it there. Would that be enticing enough? And where you go to the theater, you're like, whoa.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm in the position where I go to all the movies anyway. That's what's always hard for me. It's like, would you see it? I'm like, yeah, but not for the reasons you're going for.
I have to.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't, that would be interesting. Would I have rather seen the movie with that surprise? I don't know. I put it this way. I did this as an experiment. So I saw the movie opening at the Overlook Film Festival. I loved it. I texted my dad. I said, hey, in 2 weeks, this movie's coming out. I'm going to take you to it. I didn't tell him what the name of the movie is or whatever. My dad goes to the theater maybe 3 times a year nowadays. Like he just doesn't really, he didn't get into it anywhere near as much as I do anymore. So I knew it was his type of film. So I told him the name of the movie and I said, don't watch a trailer. Don't do anything. So all he knew was Abigail. And he's like, I figured it was a horror movie because it's you. So that was all he knew. And so we go and we see the movie. My dad loved it, said it was one of the best movies he's seen in theaters in years. Like had the exact reaction I was hoping that he would have. And I asked him, I was like, so how did like the mystery of it work for you? And he goes, well, I figured it out pretty quick. I mean, it's not like they don't do the, you know, he knew that she was some kind of monster. Didn't necessarily know that she was a vampire. And I watched it the second time looking for clues. And the way that her face looks in the opening when she's doing the ballet, some of the things that she says, the moment in the trailer that they have in the marketing where she goes, I'm sorry for what's about to happen to you. That's 15 minutes before the reveal. There's a spot where Angus Cloud is, you know, going around with a lighter and he sees this art piece drawn on the wall of the castle with bats around it. Like, I don't really know if they really tried that hard to even hide it. So my dad doesn't represent everybody, but he was somebody that walked in blind and it was fairly obvious to him where things were going. So are there some people that are going to watch that and go, oh, interesting little heist movie. And then what the fuck, vampires? Probably. But I don't know if that would be the majority.
Yeah. I know that, well, I certainly didn't see it. Well, you saw it in theaters. I didn't see it in theaters, but From Dusk Till Dawn, when I watched that, I was like, the idiot guy who likes his coffee from Pulp Fiction's in a movie.
Mhm.
And it's like,
And he's
creepy.
creepy.
Yeah. Then it's fucking chicken pussy, dog pussy, hairy pussy, smelly pussy. And then it just takes a left. And it's like, what the hell is going on here? But first, Salma Hayek.
Yes.
I
Make sure you
think
stay.
Speaking of object, no, I'm kidding.
yeah. Oh. I would love to have that kind of smack in the face, like, oh shit, this is a completely different direction. You don't get that very much from movies.
Oh, dude, I'm
And
with you. I'm with you. That's why I take that approach. I try to go into all these movies blind because inevitably there's something like that. I like Cuckoo. There you go. Cuckoo, I saw at the same exact film festival. It doesn't even release until August. I knew nothing about the movie besides the title. Watched it, and I was like, holy fuck, that was awesome. I went to go watch the trailer, and I'm like, they gave away all the fucking best parts in the trailer. And so most people are not going to have the experience that I had with it. And I'm going to inevitably have all these comments like, shit was predictable. I don't know why the fuck you're hyping it up so much. And it's like, because I didn't know shit about it. I just walked in. And I wish people would have that experience more. Like, even when I'm in a movie theater, if I see a trailer to a movie I'm already sold on, I look down and I go on my phone and I tune it out. Yeah. And so it's hey Sky. And I
oh, hey Sky.
That's the way to go, especially with horror, because everything post, Blumhouse getting big, it feels like 99% of horror trailers, it's like, here's the big reveal. Here's the best scare. Here's some third act shit. See you in a month. And then you see the movie and you're like, kind of see where all this is going. We haven't seen that one scene from the trailer yet. And that feels like a reveal.
It seems like this weekend's this is kind of show business talk. I apologize. It seems like this weekend's going to be rough as far as box office is concerned. It looks like it's going to be the worst Memorial Day this century. You saw Furiosa. It's getting really good reviews. And what is it? Fall Guy is available on streaming already. And it's in the top 5 at the box office. What's going on, Cody?
What the fuck?
I mean, it just feels like a collection of things. There's too many blockbusters. There's too much shit for everybody to see. Back in the day, I remember there being like 2-3 major movies that everybody was fucking hyped for in the summer. Now it feels like every week there's 2.
Yeah.
And every week I have to see the same people tweeting like, this is a sign of the end times. How did this movie only make $40 million? It was projected to make 65. And I'm like, motherfuckers are broke. That's why. So you have that. You have too many blockbusters. You have people are broke. Inflation's a bitch. You have the theater experience has not evolved at all in decades, aside from some better projectors and some seats are a little bit better, but it's continuously higher prices for a movie and some popcorn and candy. I mean, fuck, I go to a movie by myself most of the time. If I get a drink, I'm spending $20 plus that night to see a movie. Just a drink. If you have kids, if you have a date, fuck. I mean, I love taking my kids to the movies, but as soon as I get to the snack bar, I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot.
No,
plushies and bullshit. And so they have a
lot of pressure for something to be good. Yeah,
you have that. You have the whole thing where they have actively fucked themselves with shortening the streaming release windows so much. Where, I mean, even Abigail, I was happy that it landed because I wanted to watch it again, but that shit, I don't even know if it was a month.
Yeah, Universal has 17 days. They have the most VOD friendly deal, and you could thank COVID for that. Like, theaters were like, help, whatever, we'll sign anything.
Yeah, so you have that. You have the streaming window, and so most people, the majority of people, don't put the amount of weight on the theatrical experience as a lot of us film nerds.
Yeah,
they acknowledge that it's better, but not to the point where they're willing to go out and spend all that money every single time. Certainly not every single week. And they know, hey, I can take everybody out for $125, or I can wait 4 weeks and I can spend $25 and we can all watch it at home and eat the shit in my pantry.
Yeah.
That's a very economical decision that a lot of people are making, and Hollywood did that to themselves. Then you have the whole thing about where they're just spending too fucking much on movies. I mean, you have these movies that have to make like $600-700 million to be profitable, and it's like, okay, you can't bet on that every week of the year. So if you have a movie like Furiosa or Fall Guy, or the other 4 or 5 movies that have come out and had disappointing numbers over the last month or so, where it's like they've made $40 million and people are losing their shit, you got to stop making those types of movies then, or stop making so many of them. And there's a bunch of other reasons too. I mean, just people are assholes in theaters nowadays. COVID has fucking ruined people's consideration for others. Everywhere, people just treat it like their living room. So you have people on their phones, being obnoxious, talking, coming into the movie 20 minutes fucking late, turning their flashlights on, trying to find their seat, and people get sick of that, so they stop going. There's a ton of
back throwing ice.
Yeah, there's the whole like Hollywood problem right now is not one problem. It's a bunch of little problems.
Yeah.
That nobody wants to address any of them. The theaters don't want to dump a bunch of money into doing anything different because they're losing their ass.
Yeah, they're good.
The movie theater or the movie studios don't want to do anything different as far as changing things because they've learned the wrong lessons from 2019 where they were making $1 billion every 3 weeks. And I mean, there's just a ton of little things, but overall, people just, last year's big problem was there was way too many fucking big movies. All the leftover COVID shit fell into like the last 2 years. And it seems like every week is major tentpole blockbuster next week, major tentpole blockbuster. And it's people don't go to the movies that often anymore. Deadpool and Wolverine is going to kick ass.
Yeah.
That is the only movie that we know for sure this summer is going to make probably $1 billion. Everything else, people are probably going to be very comfortable to wait.
As somebody who is crying that the sky is falling in regards to my stream every week, or when I get to it, the thing that I found alarming was the fact that Fall Guy got really good reviews, just didn't make money. I was like, okay, so people want the familiar IP, and now Furiosa, familiar IP, not doing quite as well as people would expect. And it got, both movies got good reviews. They're different ends of the IP spectrum, and people just aren't going. And it's just like, okay, now what's the problem?
Well, my explanation for those two, The Fall Guy is a terrible trailer, or a terrible title for that movie. I know it's because it's based off of a TV show that was called The Fall Guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people remember that fucking TV show.
I don't, that's for sure.
I didn't either. My dad asked me about, he's like, what the fuck's this movie about? What's Ryan Gosling been doing? Barbie and then this? I was like, yeah, it's about a stuntman. He's like, yeah, I've seen the fucking show. I know what it's about. Why is he doing it? And I'm like, oh, it's a show? Like that was the conversation. So The Fall Guy doesn't tell you anything about what that movie's about. So right there's that. Something about that didn't feel like a movie that everybody was like really excited about. I thought it was interesting, but like it's kind of romantic comedy, it's kind of action movie, it's kind of a send up of Hollywood stunt workers. That mix didn't really get people's asses in seats for whatever reason. Then you have Furiosa. I don't know how excited people are for a Mad Max movie that doesn't have Mad Max. Furiosa is a great character, certainly was in Fury Road. I didn't need a Furiosa movie, and I love Fury Road, and I loved her character in Fury Road. But that's just kind of more of a me thing. I'm not really a prequel guy. Like my clickbait segment of my thumbnail in my review said, "Did we need to look backwards?" And so I think it's been almost a decade since Fury Road. People want another Mad Max movie with Mad Max with Tom Hardy, or probably even. I don't know. I want to say more people. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's like the Kevin Spacey thing, but they might. Yeah, I don't know. So there was something about Furiosa where it's like I don't know if people were really drawn that much to go see a movie just based off of that character. Plus, and this is an issue I did have in the movie. The CGI is done extremely well, so it's not like they did a bad job with it. But what people loved about Fury Road is how raw and practical it was. Where we're doing all these car flips and explosions and all these giant rigs and dudes with electric guitars and all. It was real. They went out in a fucking desert in Australia and it was real. Furiosa looks like a post MCU type blockbuster where it's so glossy and color corrected and CGI heavy, and you still have practical stuff there, but it's very much glossed over for a stylistic look. And the trailers, that was one of the most popular things I saw when the trailer hit, is like, why the fuck is it all CGI'd to hell? This is George Miller. It's not like somebody took it over and just learned the wrong lessons from it. What are we doing? And as I said, it's done well. It's for the most part, it's seamless. But I don't think that interested people too much. When they think Mad Max Fury Road, they think badass car chases, explosions, and shit. It'd be like doing a John Wick movie, but the whole thing's CGI. You'd be like, what the fuck is this? That's not what I come to this for.
CGI
So I think there's individual things with those movies that made it to where they weren't really must-see cinema.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, $10 super chat. Thank you, Tony Chappie, Blomkamp fan. Question for you, as someone that has been at a test screening, do you what is that? Objectively?
Do you think that test screenings do movie? Yeah, I don't know what the object thing means.
Do you think
it was probably an emoji?
Oh, okay. Do you think that test screenings do movies any favors or make it worse just with some reshoots?
I think that it can go either way.
Yeah.
There's movies that have been saved by test screenings. There's movies that have gotten significantly worse with test screenings. Final Destination's one that I always bring up, because we always hear, like, whether it's test screenings or studio meddling or whatever, like, you could find a ton of bad examples. You can find good examples, but we only ever discuss the bad ones. Final Destination was a movie where you can watch the DVD, the Blu-ray, whatever, it's there. After you get to the point where the Ali Larder's in the car and the power lines fall in the car and Devon Sawa goes to grab the power line, the original ending, he dies right there. She goes on, has his baby, and is standing in the cemetery with douchebag jock guy. And the last 15 minutes of the movie is like this weird sentimental wrap up, and people fucking hated it. And so they went back, they reshot. And so now you have everything where he gets off of that. They go to Paris. The design wasn't changed the way they thought. All of a sudden they're getting fucked up in Paris and everybody loved it. So that's an example of a test screen and saying, yeah, your movie was great until that shit. So whatever that was, fix it. And then it turned out to be a movie that has now spawned what's going to be a 6-film franchise, where it very easily could have died in obscurity if they didn't test screen it. But there's a lot of bad examples too. I think Halloween Ends. Halloween Kills.
Legally, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Legally speaking, everybody hates it. Go ahead.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I heard from a friend the movie was significantly more violent, and there was a whole thing with the kids with the masks, and there was like kills with brains, and there was a whole other section of the ending, which that might not be on test screenings. That was them trying to figure out how to make Halloween Ends make fucking sense. But yeah, the movie that was tested, it was not the movie that we saw.
Yeah, or you saw far less, and even the DVD's probably closer to what they tested.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about, especially with horror test audiences, I've heard, not from personal experience or anything, very diverse audience that they have at these test screenings. A lot of people in their 60s. And I don't know, when you look at the theater opening weekend at your average horror movie, how many grandparents are you seeing there? People are going because it's a free movie.
Yeah.
And they get power of the pen and they're like, well, this sucked. I would change this, and this.
Too much violence. Sit down, Grandma.
Right. You have NDAs. So get people that I understand they don't want fans because they're going to say anything to be invited again, but there should be something closer to what your target audience is, rather than just, all right, we've got every possible person we could think of in on this test screening, and they all have the same weight to their voice. And I think that is causing an issue. If you're like making some, I don't know, drama, then sure, as diverse as possible. But I don't know. I don't know why you're having families go to test screenings for R-rated horror.
Here's a great test screening story. So my uncle, God rest his soul, is one like he was like the guy that just fucked with you about anything. And so you just had to expect it. And so my cousin, I guess, had went to a test screening for Zack Snyder's Watchmen and came back. My uncle was like, how was the movie? He's like, it was pretty good. What'd you write on the little note? He goes, I wrote too much blue dick. And my uncle goes, well, when was it just enough?
That's
when
like
did it cross the threshold?
Goodfellas, they cut it due to test screening audience. This I only saw it on YouTube, a video, somebody talking about how Joe Pesci had like 2 or 3 more jabs in the test screening, and they cut it because people are like, oh, too much stabbing.
Too much Pesci violence.
4 stabs was perfect. 7's a bit much.
You're getting excessive now.
I think was it? Let me scroll up. Might have been Sky. Somebody brought up Butterfly Effect, and that was another example of one. It's
Vincent.
late. I can't even see. Oh, Vincent.
Yeah, the butterfly effect saved.
There you go. Yeah. So the original ending of Butterfly Effect was another one, which some people prefer the original ending. I am absolutely not one of those people. But the original ending of that film, he goes back in time to when he's in the womb and he chokes himself with the umbilical cord and dies to prevent all the things from happening. Test screenings went, that's too depressing. That's too much of a downer. What the fuck? And so then you get the theatrical ending where he goes back to his early childhood and just kind of breaks off the relationship with Amy Smart's character and saves everything that way. And then you have them meet by happenstance in the crowd when they're adults, and he looks at her and she has kind of a moment of like maybe recognition, and then he turns around and keeps walking, even though every bone in his body wants to stop and talk to her and be like, maybe it's okay now. He doesn't, to make sure that she's safe. And that's a really great ending to me. So that's another one where without test screenings, I would not like that movie. And that's one of my absolute favorite movies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, if you're going to make changes, at least have it accessible to somebody, I guess is the best answer. And something that I have not legally attended was definitely affected in the testing phase, and a lot of it had to do with the time that was wasted. There's an element of, well, you were talking about it before, Cody. Inexplicably, you were talking about Halloween Kills. A lot of people were complaining about the Evil Dies Tonight, that it seemed extravagant. But
I
if
agree with those people.
Yeah. If you remember when it was first supposed to come out, it was right around all the riots and the Black Lives Matter and all that shit. It was very current if the movie were to come out pre-COVID. And yes, it's something that after a year or two, whatever, how long they waited to release it, it seems a little obnoxious and excessive. But I would imagine while it was tested, it would have been normal or of the time. Maybe not normal.
Topical.
Yeah,
maybe.
Topical. That's it. Oh,
we'll never know.
Patrick, $5 super chat. Thank you. What would your triple feature be for an October autumn at night at a drive-in theater?
Triple feature. Jesus. October autumn night. I mean, it feels cliche, but you probably would have Halloween in there.
Oh, so all time?
I mean, I'm assuming, yeah, three horror movies in October. I mean, I wouldn't throw a comedy in there for October. So, I would have to think on that one for a while.
Yeah,
like, what movies would I want to sit there 3 movies back to back at a drive-in of all things? Which the idea of a drive-in is much better than the actual thing.
Oh,
I've reached that point as in my adulthood. Where as a kid, it was the shit. As an adult, I'm like, this fucking sucks. I'm gonna run my engine the whole time and fucking run the AC and you listen to it through these speakers. The fucking kids won't shut up. Like,
oh, cool. The place that I regret being every second I'm in it. I'm going to watch a movie in here. Awesome.
I went to, the last time I was at the drive-in was when Avengers Endgame came out. Because I'm at a point where they're about an hour and a half south of me. No, an hour and a half north of me is a drive-in and an hour and a half west of me is a drive-in. One of them is very like 50s themed and cool. The other one's a little more modern. But we were just kind of feeling froggy. Like, let's go to the drive-in. And it was a double feature of Tim Burton's Dumbo and then Endgame. So my plan was, we'll watch Dumbo. The kids might fall asleep. Then we can chill and watch Endgame, which is the movie I actually want to see. And I was so fucking miserable at this place. Just the nostalgia just wasn't there for me at all as an adult. I was so miserable that by the time Dumbo, the credits rolled, I was like, can we just leave? Like, do you give a fuck about Avenger? Okay, cool, we're going. And so I didn't even stay for the second film. But anyway, we're dodging Patrick's question here. Does anybody have an answer?
Dice?
Okay, go ahead, Dice.
I have a list.
No,
Phantasm 1, Phantasm 2.
Well, interestingly enough, it's not the horror Halloween vibes, you know. We gotta be specific about this. So I would probably go with Trick or Treat. And just for an entertaining little fun time, Ernest Scared Stupid. Not necessarily in that order, but
so hair metal.
I would go to Dice's triple feature. Let's do Hocus Pocus, The Lost Boys, and Black Christmas.
Which really Black Christmas? There's like 7 of them. 74.
Did you just ask which Black Christmas? The fucking the feminist one. I want to end my night on that.
Thank God that thumbnail has a red hat on.
Did you hear what she said? Don't mansplain to her. Turn it up.
I think I would. I'd want to do something like The Shining, but like the environment is what's
Keep
really.
in mind you're there for 3 movies, and Shining's long as fuck. So it's not that long, but compared to today's movies, it's not long. But for a horror movie,
you're not watching it in a theater. You're watching it in a car.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Swap out Black Christmas for Evil Dead, the original.
The Evil Dead.
Yeah, the Evil Dead. There you go.
Hey.
Ooh.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
2 words, and autocorrect goes, "Are you serious?"
Mm-hmm.
I might go with the 2013 Evil Dead, and I would hope that it rains for that.
Ooh.
I know that would affect.
I would be the asshole where as soon as that sequence came on, I would just fucking like blare Slayer. And nobody would bitch. They would be like, what the fuck? Hey, that made it better.
It's raining blood. And maybe
no shit, someone's got it.
Jurassic Park, just keeping with the rain theme, and I'm in a car.
It has to be raining.
If it's raining in a drive, that really sucks. I've been there because you're just sitting there watching a movie like this.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, a triple feature that's a long night. That's a long night.
I've only done a triple feature maybe once, maybe twice, but if it was only once, this was my triple feature, and it was just for business reasons. I opened up with Nefarious, then I saw Renfield, and then I closed with The Pope's Exorcist. That was a long night.
Well, there's a reason why they put Nefarious at the beginning.
Yeah.
Stiff Kittens, 5 pounds. Thank you. Dice cosplays Furiosa, Sharpie, and Clippers.
What's the Sharpie for? I have black makeup. We got grease paint. It's okay.
It's got to be permanent. You got to commit. You got to be method.
Right. Well, in that case, someone's gonna have to lop off an arm.
Oh yeah, you got to have a Luke
first person to approach.
That was a funny
kick.
It really oversimplifies the movie, so I don't agree with it. But the funniest comment that I got on my Furiosa review were like, they really did a whole fucking movie to show how she lost her arm. It's like, kind of
origin story. This was her canon event.
Yeah.
Dice, you're not big on slashers.
Not terribly.
How do you feel about the Jason universe being announced?
Well, first of all, we don't know really shit about it other than Jason is going to be in it. I hope.
Lies.
No.
The first fruit of that labor is appearing in a video game called Multiverses. It's a fighting game where it's a bunch of Warner Brothers characters, and Jason Voorhees has been announced. I think it comes out next week. It's got like Scooby-Doo characters, Batman, like all Warner Brothers.
So Shaggy could beat Jason's ass, is what I'm hearing. Okay,
and Gizmo too.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So there's, Friday the 13th for fighting games.
Well, it's not new. It's not a new idea, I guess.
No, it was a Mortal Kombat. You're right.
So interesting. Okay, so it starts with a video game. I'm assuming multiplayer.
Yeah, I think Cody said it, and when I was doing the live stream, it's licensing by another name.
They can't make a movie, they can't figure out the TV show, so they're just going to merchandise the fuck out of Jason, and instead of just doing that, they're like calling it something to make it some kind of an announcement, like, get excited, guys, you're going to get Jason shit, and we're like,
yay,
yeah,
Jason's going to be on lunchboxes and stuff.
Oh man, what would I do? Oh wait, it already exists.
Jason themed monster drinks. What you've been waiting for, right?
Never die. The energy drink. No. I see only one big problem with it. Okay, well, video game starts with a video game. Isn't there already technically a Jason universe?
Yeah, he was in Mortal Kombat. He was in
not that Victor Miller can make money off of.
Of course. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I'm kind of passive on it, really, but that's for most slashers, I suppose. I'd be interested to see what they might do with it. But the real question is, when do we get a Freddy universe? I guess we'll never know. Anyway.
Jason and Freddy are both just like, why are you guys standing around with your thumbs up your ass? Like,
yeah, just how about movies? Just do movies.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing people who are like, it's been such a long time since I've seen my favorite, slasher or favorite icon, and I'm here like, let me have a look at my list of movies that I like. Oh, look, it's been dead since the 70s.
Well, if for the sake of discussion, for the sake of argument, if Phantasm, because you guys are big Phantasm people, if the Tall Man were licensed in things, where would you want to see? The fucking sharp
Sentinel.
Yeah, balls. The balls with.
Oh, now he's getting up. He's gonna one up me here. Wait a minute. Watch.
Yeah. Cody's hardcore with a.
God damn it!
Is it going to be bigger? I think it's going to be a bigger version of that ball. I'm guessing, or the same thing.
It's dusty. Can't disrespect it.
Dusty ball. Whoa,
that's not fair.
Yeah,
but is that the one that holds all the movies in it?
No, this is the one that came with the Blu-ray release. That they had the badass one from, it was either Shout Factory or Arrow. I can't remember. I think it was Shout Factory. That it was a really nice set. Then like a year, 2 years later, they had a set that was bundled with this, and the big selling point was, finally, we're releasing the X-rated cut of Phantasm 2. And I was like, what the fuck? I love Phantasm 2, so I was like, I got to check this shit out. You play it, and the scene where the guy in the mortuary, the priest, where you come to us, that guy, it's just 3 seconds longer of him getting drilled. That's the only thing that's the difference. And so I was like, fuck! At least I got my ball.
Liars!
Well, what would you want to see of that property?
I think the original Phantasm is ripe for a remake. I think you could have somebody, like I know like J.J. Abrams is a massive fan of it. I think he was the one that kind of spearheaded them doing the 4K release of it a number of years ago. Not saying he would be the right pick for it, but the big complaint with the Phantasm movies is that they're so strange and nondescript and everything. I hadn't
heard that before.
Yeah, I know. I've been hearing it a lot lately.
I need a map.
Yeah, but I feel like you could do. I feel like you could do a modern version of the original Phantasm and shave off some of the edge. Do like the Phantasm 2 treatment to it, and I think you could do a really good version of that. It might not be as good as the originals for those of us that love the originals, but the point of a remake to me is like take something that's beloved or take something that didn't work and do something different with it. Either explore something that wasn't explored or do it for a different audience or whatever. And Phantasm, more than most classic horror films, I feel like lends itself to that, where the hardcore fans are going to be pissed no matter what because everybody freaks out about remakes. But if you got the right person that loves the property, that sees ways to do it in a way that's a little bit more palatable for more people, I think that's a win, because then you're going to get more people to go check out the originals. And then, I'm more pro remake than most people, but I would love to see
anyway. I mean,
I would love to see somebody do that. I wish Don Coscarelli would just team up with somebody and write it or help write it or be a consultant or something and just do it.
Dice?
They would have to get, regardless if it's like a continuation or if it's a remake or whatever, people will want to see the Tall Man, and they're going to have to find somebody who will not necessarily take Angus Scrimm's place, but kind of live up to that image, shall we say. That's going to be difficult. But
there might
be some people who could do it. What? Just to throw this out there, what do we think of Clancy Brown?
Oh.
Just off the top of my head, out of curiosity.
I kind of lean more towards getting somebody who's not such a recognizable name, but I love Clancy Brown, so I'm intrigued.
For Tall Man?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a big fucker.
Well, that and the
Angus Scrimm's apparently not even that tall. It's just the way that they frame him.
They give him platform shoes.
There you go. Yeah,
oh, that's right. That's something I do remember.
Platform shoes, and they tailored the suit to look smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tom Noonan, that's another good one too.
The idea of a remake is interesting. I mean, it was late 70s when the first one came out. So in a more modern setting, it'd be interesting as far as like the technology, how things are done and treated now, as far as like funerary processions and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It would be intriguing. I just I don't want it to go the route of the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre that we got.
The Netflix one? Or,
yes.
Oh yeah, bad.
Yeah,
they've been bad.
It was all right.
Yeah. I as far as like how they presented the youth, I guess essentially don't want some stupid asshole holding up a phone at the Tall Man, essentially.
Well, here's the thing that I find weird about some of those. Like, if I was in charge of doing a Phantasm remake, I would keep it in the 70s. And I don't know why more people don't do that. Where if they're going to do a remake, it always has to be modern. And with modern technology, it just creates script issues. It's like, what's wrong with just keeping it in the era? I mean, when X came out, 70s, that movie wouldn't work as well if we had cell phones and shit going on in it, and they knew that, so they're like 70s. Like, obviously he wanted to build to the 80s, so there's more to it, but I'm surprised that more people when they do remakes don't take that approach. It always has to be like the 2020 version. And it's like, but you're gonna make things harder on yourself when you do that. There's something that's eerie about the limitations of those older eras and some of those horror concepts. Having the Hemikuda and having the the hammer with the shotgun shell is the only way to get out. And nowadays he'd be like, bitch, fingerprint on the doorknob and get out. So yeah,
there's also a resurgence of people we've had, and still kind of do the whole like let's explore the 80s kind of thing. But it seems like now people are more like, well, what about the 70s? So
the 70s is like dirtier. Like
grittier,
80s is very glossy and fun,
neon.
And loud and neon, and which is awesome. But the 70s has like this dirty aesthetic. Like, you think 70s, you think Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
everybody's sweaty and shit. It smells like smoke. You just know.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, it's like heavy on death, and just lean into a miserable part of history. I still don't understand. I'm 4 deep. Maybe by the 5th one I'll figure it out.
No. I'm telling you
Just-
right now.
there's
You're
no
gonna
hope.
watch the fifth one, and you're gonna have a better appreciation for at least the first two.
Well, as of right now, the second and third one are like tied for me. But I still am like, why does this exist? Like,
Because it's awesome.
Because drugs.
it's just fascinating. Like when somebody tells me it I know why I like certain Friday the 13th movies. And I watch them as an adult. I'm like, yeah, these movies are paper thin. There's nothing going on. And somebody's like, how could you like that? This is garbage. And it's like, yeah, I know.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, no shit.
If you're watching it for the first time today, I got nothing for you.
Mhm.
But it's funny experiencing something that so many people have a love for, and I'm watching it for the first time far too late, and it's just like
Sorry, I couldn't
What
help you
happened?
back in the 80s. You know, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Phantasm's always interesting because I never know. It's like a 50-50 shot when I recommend it to people. I'm like, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. There's never anything in the middle. You're either going to come back to me and say, what the fuck? Or you're going to be like, dude, yes. And it's just something weird about that franchise that's like that, where just certain things about it are like really appealing to some of us, and the intrigue and, you know, the spheres and the little Jawas and Tall Man and Reggie and all his sexcapades. And then you get into somebody else and they're just like, these don't make sense. And I'm like, yeah, so you know what I mean?
Congratulations,
that was-
you have gotten the first step. Let's go.
That was the unfortunate. That's the most unfortunate thing about Ravager, because Ravager always felt like if we get that movie, that's where things are going to make sense. That's where they're going to wrap it up in a way where we now have more of a cohesive 5-film saga. They give an answer, something, and Ravager does anything but that. So that's what kind of leaves the big, like, stale feeling with the franchise. That is just like, I can't not love some of these movies, but it just feels like it leads to nothing now because you did this. Like,
I'm
it's
so
literally,
excited.
it's, if I remember
I've s-
correct, Phantasm Ravager was meant to be like a series of webisodes.
Yeah.
And it was made by some dude I've never fucking heard of in my life, who's a Phantasm fan. And Don Coscarelli, I guess, was just like done making Phantasm movies. So he was like, yeah, you do it. And so he
I'm
just
sure you got no
tied
ideas,
the
man.
webisodes together into a movie. And it feels that way. It feels like there's 4 different stories going on, 4 different potential realities, potential answers. And so, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but like I said, I love Phantasm with all my heart. Phantasm Ravager, I fucking hate that movie.
I like Lord of the Dead. Okay.
Lord of the Dead's fun. I always tell people that's the campy one. 3.
And the Pink
That's the
Horse.
third one.
3.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, that's
One with the kid.
the one that, ironically, not planned, came out the same year that I did.
Hmm.
It's just a nice, convenient thing, you know? It's nice. It was either that or Leprechaun 2. Let me have something.
No,
Liam Neeson?
no. Same thing with Freddy. If I was going to recast Tall Man, I would have to get somebody who's not an A-list name to put on the poster. You got to have, you know, somebody disappear into the
Someone's
role.
grandpa.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem with all of this. Terrifier is a bona fide new horror star thing.
Mm.
And, you know, let that be a franchise. I understand. I understand looking backwards and wanting to do things the same but different. But at the same time, why not give things that are unique a chance and celebrate if you enjoy it?
I'd like to take this approach.
Yeah, like
Personally.
somebody, I think it was Sky who mentioned X Pearl, and Maxine looks fucking bizarre. It looks like a weird action movie to me, that a trailer that I watched begrudgingly, but it's like, gee, how many people are in this movie? What the hell's going on here? But yeah, I'm cautiously excited, but new stuff happens too. I mean, isn't Talk to Me getting multiple movies now?
I thought he was going to get a sequel.
So
was Black
to
Phone.
Me.
Yeah.
That one's a little weirder for me. I love the Black Phone. I'm just like, what's left? Are you going to do a prequel? Is something
I'm a little scared
here? Yeah, like Talk to Me. I could see very much. We're just going to explore that shit somewhere else. I don't even imagine the lead chick's going to come back. But even if they did, there's a narrative place to take that. Black Phone very much to me felt like a solitary story because it's successful.
Mm.
I'm curious about it, but I'm concerned. One of the reasons that I enjoyed it and liked the character of the grabber is because we didn't know what the fuck is this guy's story. Don't tell me.
Yeah, that's
But
why. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like more so in horror prequels just don't tend to do much for me because it's like you're just going to answer all these questions that I preferred being ambiguous.
Which is not to say that they're saying it's going to be a prequel, but I think I had heard that Mason Thames, Finney, Gwen were coming back, and so was Ethan Hawke. I just don't know how. So
yeah, we'll see.
I mean, if you do like a variation on the story, a la Chucky, and the way they keep repurposing actors, tell a different story that isn't tied to Chucky, the television series, that is. Devin Sawa has played different characters in that. I could sort of wrap my head around it, but like you said, Dice, if it's Ethan Hawke, without spoiling anything,
I don't think it would make too much sense. However, I have a theory. I'm just going to throw this out there. Send a check if anybody uses this. I have a theory. I'm not the first one, not the only one, but what if it were a situation where Finney becomes the new grabber and the grabber's kind of like a figment in his mind? That's me grasping at straws.
He's like 15 though, right?
Yeah, he would be older, of course, and so I don't know. Maybe it's like residual trauma because we know for a fact back in the 70s they ain't doing therapy. Come on, so it's possible. I don't know. That's once again, that's me just
the grabber being some kind of spirit. The way the kids were the spirits was the first place my mind went. If it is a sequel, if it's physically Ethan Hawke, I have questions, but yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a story where I'm just like, I don't know, man. You guys did a sequel to Sinister. It didn't work out so well.
Aren't they doing another Smile too? Like that makes sense.
I think so,
yes. That comes out this year.
Like,
how did they
goes
shoot
and goes
that?
and goes.
Like
it can't take that long to shoot that movie. Everybody just standing around.
Yeah, like that's very Ring, Grudge. It reminds me of all those. Emily had a very good top or comparison. That it's just very contagious horror that you catch, 7 days. Like it's very, a lot of the Japanese horror movies have that. As long as you interact with a thing, then you've got it.
If you watch the VHS tape, which novel concept now, if you go into the house, these ghosts are just pissed off.
You go to a yard sale or a pawn shop, find a VCR that works, find a converter for the red, yellow, and white cables to your HDMI, then sit down, put the tape in, and hope it plays. You're fucked.
Make sure that your phone number is, make sure you have your wired phone connected too, because you're going to have to receive a phone call after that. So, It Follows is getting a sequel. They Follow, I believe that is coming out this year as well.
Next year. Well, I don't know if they've dated it or not, but I doubt it's this year. That was a topic that was brought up heavily for October conversations, and I was like, I don't have faith that's going to happen, so I'm not going to hedge my bets on that one.
October conversations that I'd be invested in.
Yeah.
Yeah, please no. Didn't care for Megan, but a sequel could be much better. Dice was so offended that they left. Just how dare you bring up Megan? But
I like Megan fine, but I mean, to me, it's the Child's Play remake again, and I prefer the Child's Play remake. I prefer the design of Megan, but I don't know. The thing that annoyed me about that movie, which they succeeded, so who the fuck am I to say anything, is like it felt neutered because they went viral on TikTok with the dancing shit because they wanted to be PG-13 all of a sudden. And I remember saying in my review, I was like, you guys watch. They're going to release this. They're going to get whatever money they do the first couple of weekends, and they're going to advertise the unrated cut for the home release. And I don't even think it made it a week after I did my review, and they did exactly that. And then you buy the unrated cut, and the added gore in there, it's like, this is like hard PG-13 gore. Why did you cut this? Like, there's more language. That would have got it an R, but the actual kills, a kid gets his ear ripped off, and it's like it's like comical. Like his ear stretches to fucking here before it actually tears off, and she fucks some people up with the dance hallway thing. But
yes, Megan is definitely a movie that I've seen.
My daughter loved it. Riley loved Megan, but she likes the Chucky movies and stuff too. So I would watch it with her and have fun with it. But Megan didn't hit me the way it hit everybody else.
Any news on Chucky getting a fourth season?
No. Still going strong with the hashtags.
Yeah. In my one day back on Twitter, X, whatever, I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is still being spread around.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, somebody brought it up a couple of times. Sorry, I saw you. I genuinely, I try to not answer spam comments if you repeat the same thing over and over again, but I'll let this one slide. Thoughts on the Dexter prequel, Cody?
Stop it! What the fuck is that?
I mean, I did a video, maybe it was a year ago now, when they announced all of this, where they announced Dexter Origin series, New Blood season 2, focusing on Harrison or Harrison spinoff, whatever they want to call it, and then a Trinity Origin series. And my thoughts on all three was like, no thanks.
I don't have 3 middle fingers. Sorry.
Here's the thing. Like, I love Dexter. Good, bad, and ugly. I love Dexter. Just the main run series of Dexter felt like it went on too long. It felt like they were just kind of riding the ratings, and then ratings started to dip, and they just fucking ended it and have no idea how to end it. Twice. The thing with Dexter Origins, the first big knock against it is it's not Michael C. Hall. So I don't really care. If I'm going to see Dexter, I want to see Dexter, not somebody else playing young Dexter. Not to say that they can't find somebody to do a great job, but that's the draw for me, is Michael C. Hall. Beyond that, the first 2 seasons of the show, I want to say, maybe there's sprinkles in other seasons, but heavily in the first 2 seasons of the show, there's a shitload of flashbacks that show us every significant event in regards to this. They show you Harry figuring it all out with what's going on with Dexter and him wanting to kill the dog and shit like that. They show him training Dexter ad nauseum. They show Dexter's first kill. They show multiple other kills from back in the day. They show the kill that Harry actually walks in on and realizes what he's done, and he kills himself for it. Like, what is there to actually tell us that was not already given to us in those flashback sequences? Like, you just see through it as a fan. You guys fucked up. You brought back Dexter with New Blood. Your ratings went out the fucking roof, and you killed him. And then you said, shit. Now what? And so you're grasping at all the most obvious straws. Origin story, season 2 with his son that nobody likes, and the most popular villain, Trinity. Let's just explore that guy even more. Which even him, we already know his fucking origin too, because it's like it's a whole plot reveal throughout season 4. So yeah, just the whole thing just reeks as soulish cash grab to me. And even I would even entertain that to a degree if I wasn't just so turned off and devoid of faith in these people writing any more Dexter stuff. Because after you gave me Dexter season 8 and then you did what you did in New Blood, I don't care anymore. You've lost me.
Yeah, if we're going to be soulless too, and we're just going to throw everything at the wall, make a one-off series because you haven't learned your lesson. I want to see more of Dexter and Dokes because after season 2, it's like, man, that was really good. Like, I wish they had stretched that a bit. And knowing them, they wouldn't have figured out how long to do it. You know, you could probably, I don't know, have it be a flashback. You still get Michael C. Hall. You get
do a Saw X.
Right. And just have it take place in the same
before
time.
season 1, between season 1 and 2, something. I mean, I guess it would make more sense to do before because the seasons are pretty concurrent. But yeah, I would watch that.
Right. I would almost like forgive them, just undoing, like retconning something just for the sake of like, all right, we're going to try to fix some of the things you guys complain about.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is I don't want any of that because I mean they that annoyed the fuck out of me in New Blood where they're like he uses ketamine and it's like no, he uses M99 and the fact that I know that and I'm passionate about that answer shows you that most people that watch this show are also going to say the same shit. That's a very important, stupid detail that you fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know. And Gray brought up the books, and yes, it was books before that. But what we know is on television is Michael C. Hall as Dexter, and to have, I mean, Christian Slater, it's nothing to sneeze at, but
that's the only part of that that somewhat intrigued me, just because I love Christian Slater and I've enjoyed the little bit that he's done. Not that he's had a big resurgence, but like Mr. Robot and things like that. I think he's done some interesting things. So even though I don't think he looks anything like fucking James Remar, I'm not gonna be with those guys. Like you got to get an actor that looks exactly like him. Like sometimes you just cast the best actor, but that's the only part of it where I'm like, fine, I'm 1% interested now. And don't let me talk out of my ass. I'm absolutely going to be watching this when it happens. I'll probably do a review, but remove the YouTube Cody out of it. If I was just Guy at home, I would have no interest in watching this. And I certainly wouldn't pay for a subscription service just to watch it.
I said the same thing about the Jason universe. Like, I have no interest, but I'm going to be there. Like, all right, what do you got? Throw it at me. And the same thing with Dexter. I think we were opposite ends. You were fired up for New Blood, and I'm like, no. And then once I saw a couple episodes, I'm like, this is pretty good. I'm back for it. And then we all met at the end. Gavin, $2 super chat. Thank you. New show idea: Dexter Morgan versus Vic Mackey.
Ooh. I don't think that would ever work, but just the concept is like, oh yeah, those two actors facing off. Vic Mackey's the Shield.
Oh, the guy who was the original Thing.
Yeah, he's a murderer and all that other stuff, so he would fit the code.
Yeah, I don't like. It's weird that I almost prefer them to just do something. Listen, have Michael C. Hall back and do some sort of bizarro world fantasy shit. Like,
I wonder how much of New Blood's ending and these concurrent ideas have to do with the fact that maybe Michael C. Hall has no interest in being Dexter anymore or even acting so much. He seems like he's just doing his band.
Yeah.
So maybe they were like, we'll give you this fucking truckload of money. Come back and you'll never have to come back as Dexter again. We promise. And so maybe, I don't know.
I mean, he just did a convention like this year.
Yeah.
With the other cast members. I don't know. It would be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, money's money, and they made a shitload of money on that last season.
I know. That's what that was the thing that was so funny about it. It's like the numbers came out and they were just like, shit. Highest viewed Showtime show of all time. Fuck. What now?
Well, somebody on YouTube did a review or a video. They like what ifed the ending, and what they did was they edited in the clip. So Dexter gets shot, but then they do like a flashback thing to when Dexter is about to shoot the guy, the first guy that he kills in New Blood, and he has that vision of him killing whatever the hell his name was.
Dream,
yeah, it was all a dream, and I'm like, I normally hate that, but I would take it if they would do it.
That's the sad part. I would too. Like, as much as I want to tell them to go fuck themselves, if they found some stupid, idiotic way to be like, just kidding, I'd be like, goddamn right, you're just kidding. Now do it right.
Last chance, third time's a charm.
It was funny too, because when I watched that finale, that whole season, I would watch the episode, I would immediately go record and edit my video and drop it. And I saw that finale and I was like, I have to fucking sleep on this. I cannot record my first thoughts because it's not going to be good. And when I recorded it, I didn't even look to see what the popular thing was, because I think most people hadn't seen it yet. If you had the streaming service, you could watch it a day ahead, but people actually airing on Showtime was the next day. So I put out that review just hating the ending, and I was like, I don't know, I might be on an island with this. Maybe everybody's gonna love it and they're gonna be like, what's this dude fucking hating on? And that video just skyrocketed because everybody was like, yes, say it again, fuck this shit. And I was like, yes, it's not just me.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly, if you're in the shoes of Showtime, you clearly acknowledge the fact that you fucked up the first time. So try again. You're not against it. I mean, you're not above it. So
yeah.
Try it again. And bring Deb back and bring Harry back. Well, everything's confusing about what they did. I would almost prefer them to pick up after the finale of 7, because LaGuerta gets shot and it's just like so much. Here's a bench.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Deb's an alcoholic now. That's the connection to season 7. Wait, what?
Yeah, that's where everything went stale after that. Like, there's a lot of people that don't even like season 7, and I think season 7's the most return to form season since the first 4.
It's the best one of the last 4 seasons. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, that's the moment when they walk out of that container. After that, everything just goes downhill. That would be the point to go back and be like, okay, what the fuck happened? Where else could we go? And that's the shitty thing about season 2. Is as awesome as season 2 is the story of the final season. So they kind of fucked themselves, because you think that storyline for a final season, it's like, yeah, I don't know, just like, that's such a weird one to me with Dexter, when I try to think about like why we went the directions that we did in season 8 and in New Blood, where it just feels like the writers of the show don't even understand their own character. Where I'm not saying you have to do the obvious thing, but sometimes doing the subverting your expectation thing makes everything stupid. So Dexter being a character that starts off with no emotion, with no ability to connect with humans, having him gain all of that through 7 seasons and family and loss and everything else, and living his life by this code, which is don't get caught. At the end of the day, that's the code. It's a bunch of different ways to not get caught.
Well,
that's what Harry taught him, is it's to keep you out of the penitentiary, or to keep the lethal injection out of your arm. I'm going to teach you how not to get caught and how to channel shit to where at least the things you're going to have to do aren't the worst thing in the world, or at least as bad as they could be. But at the end of the day, it's don't get caught. And all throughout the series, you see him make these decisions that put other people in jeopardy, that get other people killed because he doesn't want to get caught.
Well, plus there's the other thing too. Every year it seemed like it was like a gag at some point where he's like, do I actually feel love? Is this the first time I feel love? No, you felt this last year.
Yes. Well, there's that, but just the whole thing where it's like, you've set this character up in this theme here, the most obvious natural way to conclude this story is to have him break his code for the good of somebody else, because he finally has gained that ability to love and to understand and to be compassionate and to choose somebody else above himself. His son would have been the perfect person to do that for.
Yeah, I mean,
But
if you go back and re-pick up from 7, you can have
or
season
Deb,
2.
his son or Deb, sorry. Yeah.
You could have season 2 happen in season 8B, where
Mhm.
you have them going after both of them for LaGuerta dying. Like, if you're just going to erase some things, make season 2 mirrored, maybe not in one season, but you have both of them on the run because they work with a bunch of detectives and they kept flirting with it throughout the series anyway. Drew, $2 super chat. Thank you, Drew. Hot take: Dexter is bad from season 3 on.
Hard disagree.
Ooh.
I think the first 4 seasons are outstanding. Some people give season 3 shit. I still think season 3 is awesome. So 4 seasons of greatness. Season 5, I like all the way up until the ending. I felt like they copped out at the end. That season 5 should have had the end of season 6. Season 6, Deb finding out. Deb should have found out in season 5 when she actually has sympathy for the vigilantes. And so that would have caused that turmoil of, fuck, my brother's a killer, but I actually agree with what he's doing to an extent. Season 6 has its moments, but season 6 was the first season where I was like, oh, this is not up to par. The whole twist with Colin Hanks and his professor, and the religious angle, and having him explore all of that, and Deb thinking maybe she's in love with him. What the fuck? Like, that's where they were just like grasping at straws for storylines. And then season 7 felt like a return to form, and what I liked about it was there was no big bad. There was like 3 different things going on, and Ray Stevenson was just kind of like the big guest star, and he was like really fucking cool character where like he was the big bad, but then he wasn't. And then season 7 turned into the whole thing with LaGuerta, where LaGuerta ends up being the big bad. And so I love season 7. It's got its stupid moments in it too, and then season 8 was just like from start to finish, like, what is this shit?
Yeah, I was
there's somebody, there was a professor that helped Harry the whole fucking time. We're just finding out about her in the final season, and the brain surgeon, and Deb's fucking off having benders and fucking dudes and stuff, and then being guilty, and it's just train wreck.
Plus the last episode, it felt like they had to submit their homework before like a time buzzer or some shit. Like, this is what I have to go. There's a hurricane and Deb got shot, and now Dexter's gonna, like, whoa, what's happening here? This is the end of the series. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say 3 is the worst of the, like, Dexter 1 through 8 is 2 halves to me. 4 has a very, very definitive way to close that season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 3 is the worst of the first 4 seasons.
I would agree with that, but I still think it's awesome.
I don't
like saying it's the worst is not even really a knock against it, because the first season with the ice truck killer is just awesome. The second season is probably my second favorite season of the whole show. Season 4 is Dexter pinnacle. So season 3, the only thing that's off about season 3 that keeps it from being as good as the others is that you got the Skinner storyline is not really all that interesting. Certainly not as interesting as the Miguel storyline. And everything going on with Dexter Deb and her boyfriend. Like, it was like 3 seasons of her just like fucking a different dude. It was just kind of, it felt a little stale at that point, even 3 seasons in. But everything with him and Jimmy Smits, I just thought was awesome. That confrontation on the roof is like one of the best sequences of that whole show to me.
Yeah. Look, in a perfect world, I think season 3 happens before season 2. Again, like that whole Dokes aspect, I looking back, I wish we had more of it. But to see a different variation on somebody finding out his secret. I mean, it happened every season, it seemed, but I don't know, to really get, I don't know. It's hard to look at things in hindsight, but
it would have been cool for as much as Dokes hated Dexter with his aggressive side that he had. It would have been cool to have somebody that knew his secret that kind of agreed and have a season or two with their dynamic being changed a little bit. I'm with you.
yeah.
So
And,
that thing would come out.
the best thing
I
about
will
season
fuck you back.
Yeah, that was the thing. Season 3. Well, I guess for a couple of seasons, it seemed like they had a really big actor for the big bad. I mean, John Lithgow was just so huge and so clutch.
Yeah.
Oh, you agree with that, Drew? Season 3 would be improved to be before season 2. Yeah. I think
season 2's placement is the biggest mistake of that show.
Yeah. Fuck it. Bring Dokes back. Do something. Do something. I don't know. But yeah, oh, Gray asked before, are there any movies that you consider conservative horror? To kind of swing it back to the topic.
I Nefarious.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
I can't think of any others off the top of my head. I'm sure there are some. It doesn't feel like many conservative movies get made nowadays because Hollywood is run by the liberal side. So you'll see a lot more liberal movies than you do conservative movies. The conservative movies are the ones that you see get produced by Ben Shapiro that nobody sees.
Yeah. What?
I would get, well, it's not a horror movie. I was going to say that run, hide, fight thing would be.
And they didn't produce that. They bought it. It was a movie that was made before Daily Wire had their fingers on it. I think S. Craig Zoller is very conservative in his.
I don't know, man. It depends on.
Yeah.
The thing for me is like if you're going to call something a liberal movie or a conservative movie, to me, I'm picturing a movie where it's like it's heavily political.
Yeah.
Or it's all about bullet points.
That should not be the first thing. It should not be
fit into that. It's literally a sermon of this is this, and this that you should agree with, and this is why. But you have example like Bone Tomahawk, like you had there. Like I would have to rewatch the movie, but just having a conservative director and you see certain pieces of that maybe in there. I don't know if I would go as far as to call it a conservative movie or not. Like to me, it's just a movie.
I think Ghostbusters has conservative elements to it. I wouldn't cut, but it's a good movie because it doesn't have politics on the top layer. It has, small business owners.
And that's what it is to me is like when I think of a conservative movie or a liberal movie, it has to be the top layer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like you picking details. But like they did this, so this movie's conservative, and it's like that's fucking 2% of the movie.
Right. I agree. Yeah. If you think of something in the forefront as its politics, chances are it's not that strong.
Yeah.
And
like
yes,
you had a lot of people that like when Immaculate came out, they were arguing that this was like liberal Hollywood's way of saying fuck the conservative view on abortion. And I'm like, you got that out of that movie? Like maybe like if the writer said, yep, I'd be like, okay, I guess I see it. But I watched that movie and I'm like, my brain doesn't go there. That's why I feel like I'm a happier person because of that.
Yeah. Do we know how that procedure happens? Because that's not the way the movie, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have used the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a conservative movie. Because Texas? All right. So Cody, thank you for joining us. Dice, I'm assuming internet issues or what have you. Dice, obviously, thank you for taking part before Cody was here and during.
And taking extensive notes that the rest of us were absolutely not willing to endure. Dice is a trooper.
Indeed. I
feel sorry that you gave him watch hours.
Well, apparently a lot of people do. Have you learned anything from this?
No. What's to learn? Morons have access to the internet.
All right. So if you had to pick one thing that's frustrating through all of the things that you've been accused of or labeled.
The frustrating part of it is anybody that takes his word and doesn't actually look into it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like I say this over and over and over again. Like I know that there's a collection of people that do not like me for whatever reason, because of my movie views, because I'm more successful than they are, because I had beef with somebody that they like, what the fuck ever. But there is not one single person that has actually met me that has had something negative to say about me. Not one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And
Not
that's why I was quite turned off by what I experienced. And
yeah. And I take pride in that. Even if somebody came out to me and they're like, I don't really like all your views and this and that, like I would still have a conversation with them. I feel like we would walk away being like, cool.
Yeah. I don't agree with all your views. That doesn't matter. I mean, shit, Brian and I when Brian was here, we were talking about things that I had no idea that I wanted to talk about that day, but it's just a small portion of the day, but yeah, I can't imagine just agreeing on everything. That sounds miserable.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the only frustrating part is like people getting a certain impression of me that don't actually take the time to, it's like people that don't read the article. They read the headline and make an opinion.
Guilty.
And so that's the only frustrating part, but I don't know how many people that is. And there's certainly not somebody that's going to wear on my mind. It's like, okay, whatever. There's a lot of other people I guess I can be friends with.
Yeah. Plus the fact that this person had a chance to reach out and say something is just like.
To me, that says more about them than me. Like if you were physically in the same building as me, and I would probably lean on the possibility that they actually saw me at the convention.
Sure.
If you had the opportunity to say something then and you waited 3 months and made a little video, like you're a pussy. So have fun behind your keyboard. I do my fighting outside of the fucking internet chat board.
Thank you to everyone who joined for this. I don't know what the hell to call this, but
a day.
Yeah, it was a day. One of, if not the last day in the UK for me, and my first day back on Twitter. And thank you to those who dropped super chats. Cody, what do you got coming up?
I'm gonna be on a Father's Day themed stream tomorrow on Splattercast with Ken Sledge. We're gonna be talking about like dads and horror and what movies we show our kids and stuff like that. I think that's at noon. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. I have a review for Stir of Echoes. That's kind of my hidden gem, underrated movie pick of the month. That's going to be coming out on Monday. I really want to do at least one comedy review by Friday, but I'm not going to promise it because I still have not shot one single frame for 31 on 31, which is Friday. So you have 31 on 31 on Friday. That's the only other thing that I can promise. Yeah, you might get a comedy review between Tuesday and Thursday, but I'm no promises.
And I don't know if this is the case, but this is fair warning that I might be talking about this again in the future. So if your ears are ringing, Cody, it's because it's a fascinating thing that's happened here. Why is this not working? I fucking hate StreamYard. Say goodnight, everyone.